In the beginning, the Douglas team was only a handful of workers, but in 1924, the name of Douglas was firmly implanted in the field of aviation. For in that year, Douglas planes made aviation history by completing the first flight around the world. Hundreds of people were at the airport to commend the pilots and the Douglas Aircraft Company. Some of the most noted figures of the day also cheered the event and personally congratulated the pilots.
At Santa Monica, the nation's largest airliner emerges from its cradle at the Douglas plant. Built to order for the 5 largest airline companies in the United States, the 42-passenger ship will have stratosphere cabins. Lower-level atmospheric pressure will be maintained while the ship operates more efficiently and safely in the substratosphere. With a wingspread of 138 feet, the plane will be powered with 4 1,400-horsepower motors. This is the plane designed as the safest in the world's skyways.
They're lined up for dress parade, the fighting machines all in a row at March Field near Riverside, California. For today, there's inspection of the field by members of the Senate and House military committees who are touring United States defense posts. From the field, they go to the Douglas Aircraft plant at Santa Monica, where the congressmen see fighting planes in the making as the machines await final assembly. Some of the members are from the Appropriations Committee, getting first-hand information on production costs. Ranking member is Oklahoma Senator Thomas, who is greeted by Brigadier General Fickle. Then the congressmen are loaded into a plane for an aerial lesson in the defense of this sector of Southern California. From here, they get an idea of tactical problems in the aerial fortification of the coast. With engines cut, the Air Corps demonstrates how bombing planes silently glide in to strike from the sky.
Glenn Martin was attracting a remarkable group of clear-thinking young designers as workmen. The first to join him was Donald Douglas.
My first memory of things in aviation was seeing the first Wright airplane demonstrated for the Signal Corps in 1908 at Fort Myers, outside of Washington. So I took the streetcar and one thing and another and got out to Fort Myers. Well, there she was, as I had seen her pictured, the old Wright pusher. And there were Wilbur and Orville. And there was that old launching device that kind of looked like a guillotine, and they had the airplane perched up at the starting part of the track and the weight all ready to go. And then, as I recall, it was Wilbur that got into the machine with, I guess it was Colonel Lom, and they pulled the old latch, and off she went.
Pictures you just seen represent milestones in the Douglas Company history. You're going to become part of this tradition yourself. Welcome to Douglas. I'm what some of you might call an old-timer, like this Douglas World Cruiser. I can remember that first round-the-world flight. I even remember when the first Cloudster took off. I was pretty young, though. But, well, I'm getting a little ahead of my story. First, I want you to meet a man who, most of his life, has been an important part of the Douglas tradition. He's now the president of the company, Mr. Donald Douglas, Jr.
I want to welcome you to our organization. When I say we're glad to have you with us, I'm speaking not only for my father and myself, but for all of the men and women of the Douglas organization. We believe you'd like to know something of the history and the many products of our company.
As you can see, our den is full of Douglas history and achievements. As any old-timer will tell you, the Douglas story is exciting and it's fun to talk about. It's a story that spans the history of aviation from jennies to jets. It's a story lived by men and women, many of whom are still with us, who well remember the drawing board operation in the back room of a small barber shop in Los Angeles. A sharp contrast to our present complex of production, service, and design facilities. Equally vivid are the memories recalled by this picture of the Cloudster, the first Douglas airplane. Looks kind of odd, old-fashioned now, doesn't it? But poised out there on the end of that bumpy dirt runway, with the prop spinning and the smell of hot castor oil and wet grass heavy in the early morning July sunshine, she looked fine, real fine. And a new era was born, in which Douglas-built planes were to carry more payload, farther, faster, longer, and for less operating cost than any other. In 1924, these world cruisers, built by Douglas for the Army, flew around the world, covering 28,900 miles, an unheard of feat in those days. They proved the soundness of the Douglas design. The illustrious Douglas commercial, or DC series of airplanes, began with the DC-1. Within a few months after its initial flight in 1932, the DC-1 broke 19 American and world records for transport aircraft. With the DC-3, commercial aviation came of age. No aircraft in history has earned a greater reputation for dependable service than this universally famous 21-passenger transport. Douglas produced 11,000 of them. Workhorse of the airlines, thousands of DC-3s are still in commercial service. Yes, those were some of the big events of the 20s and 30s. It all began in the back room of a barber shop. The name Douglas is synonymous with commercial aviation. The DC-6 and 7 series, mainstay of the world's airlines in the post-war years, carries millions of passengers and mountains of freight on regular schedules over oceans and continents. Airplanes of this type rank with the famous DC-3 as the most successful commercial aircraft ever manufactured.
If you should plan to fly here in your own plane, you land at bustling Clover Field, which is just a stone's throw from Los Angeles International Airport. This airport is said to handle more private air traffic and charter flights than any other airport in the country. Douglas Aircraft Company, one of the world's largest, created its first airplane designs on a drawing board located in the rear of a local barber shop. Today, it provides by far the biggest payroll in Santa Monica. The story of this great company spans the history of aviation. It is a saga of industrial enterprise, a tribute to the genius of its founders and to the achievements of its people.
A flying stiletto, the Douglas X-3, designed to fly 2,000 miles per hour. Department of Defense films record test flights of the jet-propelled research craft, just off the secret list. The Flying Stiletto weighs more than a DC-3, but its wing is smaller than the DC-3's tail. The shape of things to come is here.